everyone. Let's get started. Thank you for coming for our very first day of thesis presentations. We're going to start today with Dylan, and it's a good. If I were here, if I were you guys, I would want to go first because, man, you get it done, and then you're just watching everyone the rest of the time. So he's got a great spot. I enjoyed talking all year with Dylan about pig parts in human bodies, because. But Dylan's a hardworking student, except on the days where there's a calculus test, which nobody does anything but study calculus, right? Maybe. So what I'll do for all of the thesis today, I will tell you guys who the presenter would like to thank, and the first words you're going to hear from the presenter will be his speech. So come on up, Dylan. You can get ready. So here are Dylan's words. Dylan says, I would like to thank my parents for always supporting me and my friends for always being there for me. Very simple and to the point. Dylan's title is The Pig in Human Clothing, The Case for Xenotransplantation. All right, Dylan, I'm going to set up the timer, and I'll tell you when you can start, okay? You can start when you're ready.
Can I drink first? Jelek nanti, jelek. Fotonya jelek nanti.
Yeah, you can start whenever you're ready. I'll start the timer.
I start first. Okay. In the shadow of modern science triumphs and advancements lies a clinical ingenuity which has sparked decades of debates and arguments. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you xenotransplantation. Now, I would like you all to imagine a world where the boundary between humans and animals have altogether perished. A world where a pig's heart can beat in the body of a human. A world where ethical boundaries and moral quandaries have grown ever thinner in favor of grotesque innovation. The reality of it is that with each step, with each advancement, humanity is leaping more and more into the uncharted territories where the very essence that makes us human is taken into question. So, as we stand at the cusp of human evolution, we must now ask ourselves, how far are we willing to defy death, and at what cost? Now, xenotransplantation is by no means a new breakthrough. It has been in clinical trials for over 200 years, dating all the way back to the 1800s. It started with the operation of skin xenografts, which then quickly escalated into other more complex body parts. Scientists like Alexis Carrel have tried xenotransplantation with various different animals, but with a not so ideal result. The more recent example of xenotransplantation occurs in 2020 on 62-year-old Richard Slayman. Now, this operation looks promising, brings hope, as though the patient did die a few months later, the cause of the death is not solely due to organ rejection. Now, although this operation looks promising, we are still in the gray area. We are still like ships going through a fog, our objectives only visible through fleeting glimpses. Thus, in the meantime, allotransplantation remains the cornerstone of organ transplants. Now, allotransplantation refers to the transplants of organs or other body parts between the same species, while xenotransplantation is the transplant between different species, i.e. humans to pigs, pigs to humans. Now, the problem with xenotransplantation is in the immunological barrier. sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Our body has a very complex immune system. Though it attacks any foreign pathogen, it also attacks anything it sees as foreign, including but not limited to the animal organs. Now, this could result in acute organ rejection, which could shut down the whole body. But why should we care about xenotransplantation? Is it really that important for us to change the system we have right now? In this day and age, there's multiple diseases that could cause end-stage organ failure. Diseases like diabetes, hepatitis B and C, coronary artery disease, all of which could kill your organs easily. In the USA alone, around 100,000 people needed an organ transplant in the year 2024. Now compare this with the amount of people actually donating an organ, which are only in the tens of thousands. This disparity between organ supply and demand keeps increasing every year. Around 17 people die each day waiting, suffering for the organs that will never come. That is why we need a solution to this problem. Well, naturally, several solutions has come up. Solutions like synthetic organs, gene editing, and one of the more promising ones, xenotransplantation. However, xenotransplantation faces not only biological challenges, but also ethical and public awareness challenges. One of the major concerns for xenotransplantation is the risk of zoonosis, which is the disease that could be transferred from animals to humans. Now, to circumvent this risk, governments and scientists have put up safety protocols and strict guidelines in order to minimize it. However, the public awareness of this is still very much low, and thus their ethical concerns remains high. So, with all that in mind, xenotransplantation should be considered a viable medical operation for three key reasons. Its undeniable sustainability, its logistical efficiency, and the fact that not only does it solve the illegal organ trade, but also solve the ethical and biological problems of allotransplantation. First is sustainability. After rigorous years of research, we have found that pigs were found to be the best candidate for our organ donors. But why pigs? Pigs have an early maturity age, a short gestation period, a rather large litter size, and a relatively similar organ size. Not only that, other pig-derived biological products, such as insulin and factor VIII, have been used to treat diabetes and hemophilia, respectively. Pigs also have a long history of biomedical research and genetic engineering, which cements its place as our best candidate for an animal organ donor. Now, pigs are used mainly for their reproducibility. Two key terms that come into play are gestation and litter size. Gestation is referred to as the time when one's offspring is developed inside the mother's womb until it is born. Litter size is the amount of offspring per birth. Now, for the candidate to be viable, it must have a rather large litter size and a short gestation period, which pigs have. Pigs are only pregnant for around 115 days, with a litter size of an average of 10 piglets each litter, with 2 litters yearly. Not only that, pigs are also reach sexual maturity earlier in only 6 to 8 months. Now, another advantage of xenotransplantation is the fact that we can grow and breed these pigs in a safe and clean environment. These environments are called SAFs, or source animal facilities. Now, in these environments, they house the colostrum-deprived piglets, colostrum-deprived and cesarean-derived piglets. These piglets have their pathogen exposure minimized. They are tested and vaccinated, and their air is filtered, their drinks are disinfected, and their food is controlled. All of these measures is to make sure that zoonosis does not occur and that outside pathogens cannot infect the pigs. Now, the next advantage of xenotransplantation is organ customization. Using the CRISPR-Cas9 technology, scientists have been able to customize the pig's organs to accommodate for the human body. One example of this is the deletion of the GTA1 gene, which would increase organ compatibility with humans, and the deletion of the PRV sequence, which would reduce the risk of viral infection. Now, in 2020, Harvard researchers have succeeded in creating these pigs that is lacking these genes, paving the way for more safer transplants. Not only that, a neat thing about this is that after the gene editing has been done, it is heritable, which means it only needs to be done once, cutting long-term costs. Now, the next advantage of xenotransplantation is its organ availability. Using the pig's reproducibility, we're able to create a sustainable and reliable source of organs, deleting the need for waitlists altogether. In this current state, allotransplantation waitlists are long and arduous. Patient has to be evaluated, put on a national waiting list, and then wait months or even years to even be able to procure the organ they need. Sadly, in that specific time span, some patients might even be ineligible for the organs they need, and they are then left to just rot in bed. Now we can see that allotransplantation is riddled with failures and inefficiencies. This is where xenotransplantation can come in. It is more reliable, more sustainable, and thus could save more lives. Now the next thing that xenotransplantation have over allotransplantation is its non-reliance on organ donors. Allotransplantation usually focuses on having organ donors from either brain-dead patients or from Good Samaritans. Now, this is a very long and complex process, as consent must be obtained before being able to gain the organs. And not only that, this also gets delayed more if the donors reject due to personal, cultural, or religious beliefs. A study has shown that minority groups, particularly Asians, are less likely to donate an organ. Beliefs such as Confucianism puts value on one's body as respect for one's parents. Now, this could create hesitancy when donating an organ. Another study has also shown that 99% of medical students in Hong Kong have a positive outlook towards organ donation. However, only 23% of those students have actually signed donor cards. This trend appears in both Korea, China, and even among Asian Americans. Now, the key attribute that show why there's such disparity between attitude and action can be attributed to lack of education, distrust in the public health care, or cultural taboos. This is where xenotransplantation is essential. Xenotransplantation eliminates the problem of donors altogether. There is no need for donors, no need for cultural complications. It is just straight and immediate life-saving treatment. Now, the third advantage that xenotransplantation have over allotransplantation is in the matter of transportation. Once the donor has consented, the organs must now be allocated to the target's location. Now, there is something called ischemia time, which is the maximum allowable period for the organ to be outside the body from the organ procurement surgery to the eventual organ transplant surgery. Now, in this time span, it is crucial that there is no failures, no mishaps that could occur, if any delays were to occur, and lead to organ wastage and even the loss of lives. A study has shown that 14% of organs that are procured and transplanted in the same hospital were damaged, while 29% of organs transplanted and procured in different hospitals were destroyed. Now we can see that xenotransplantation can solve these problems. There is no need for rapid searching for solutions if there's a steady and sustainable organ storage. And transportation is just the start. Communication and coordinators must also work tirelessly, sifting through thousands of medical records to find an actual patient that is compatible. Then they must coordinate with the doctors and surgeons to see if they're available or not. And doctors are limited to face-to-face communication and direct calls, which could delay the whole process even more. These issues are multiplied in the case of multi-organ donations, which needs more teams, more coordinations, and tighter timing. The whole thing is like playing with glass. One mistake, one mishap, one failure, and the whole thing breaks. Thus, it is viable for us to actually switch to xenotransplantation. Xenotransplantation provides the timing is ease. We do not need to be so rapid about surgeries or finding the correct patients. Although transportation is still a problem, we can still manage it more carefully and thoroughly. Now, the third and final reason why xenotransplantation should be pursued is because of its impact on the world in both economically, ethically, and biologically. Economically, xenotransplantation has the possibility to alleviate the burden of costly treatments. Patients who are on the wait list are usually bound to costly treatments such as dialysis or extended hospital stays. Now, xenotransplantation can alleviate this burden by creating a sustainable and reliable case of supply of organs. Several simulations has been done that show that in the long term, xenotransplantation will be more cost-effective than traditional treatments, such as insulin therapy for diabetes. This will lead to a healthier population and less strain on the healthcare system. Now, the next thing, that xenotransplantation has the ability to combat the horrifying reality of the illegal organ trade. According to the World Health Organization, around 10,000 kidneys are transported every year in the black market. Often involving people who are vulnerable, who are abused, coerced, and left with lifelong consequences. Now, xenotransplantation is able to reduce this demand of organs through their sustainable supply and reduces the demand that fuels this exploitation. This is reason enough to prioritize its development. Now, finally, xenotransplantation is pushing the boundaries of biotechnology. The need to prevent organ rejection has driven breakthroughs like the CRISPR gene editing, which now allows for scientists to modify pig organs for human use. Innovations such as the GTKO pigs and the TKO models have transformed our understanding of immunology and cross-species compatibility forever. Thus, xenotransplantation is not merely a scientific dream. It is an ethical obligation, a technological marvel, and an economic solution. It has the power to save lives, reduce suffering, and transform our knowledge of healthcare forever. However, with such a morally gray innovation, naturally, questions might arise. People who advocate for the banishment of animal cruelty may think that xenotransplantation has no place in this world. The animals, they are bred, they are raised in such a secluded environment just to be dissected later on. It is naturally a valid concern. However, because xenotransplantation has the power and ability to save millions of lives, I believe that it is justifiable. We can look to a religious perspective for further insight. In Christianity, the Bible teaches us that we are the stewards, we have authority over the animals in the world. However, with a moral responsibility. Thus, likewise, the German Evangelical Church and other Catholic theologians have also concluded that using animal organs for xenotransplantation is not against the doctrine, given that we still upheld our moral and ethical obligations. Now, xenotransplantation does not only face ethical challenges, it also faces psychological questions. Patients might fear they're losing their identity if they were to receive a pig's organ. They might think, am I still human? Am I still me? If the heart that is beating that is making me live right now is a pig's heart. Now, this fear echoes the ship of Theseus thought experiment, where if you replace all the parts of something, it is still the same thing. Our research has shown that people may experience stress, anxiety, or even identity crisis for xenotransplantation. However, these emotions are purely emotional and does not actually have an impact on the identity itself. In reality, identity is our own decisions, relationships, and memories. They should not be bound to merely an organ. A pig's organ should not change who you are at your core, just as an artificial heart doesn't. So there's no scientific proof that a pig's organ can change you or your identity at your core. Now, however, xenotransplantation is not about identity. It is about surviving. When no other options are available, it can be a powerful solution that offers quality, and hope for people who otherwise have none. So, throughout this thesis, we have seen that xenotransplantation has been a pivotal leap for humanity. Not only is it a sustainable source of organ procurement, it also exceeds allotransplantation in both efficiency and efficacy. Its ripple effect impacts not only the biological sector, but also the economic sector by helping people who are stuck in prolonged dialysis. That's it. Xenotransplantation may be the lifeline that many needs to survive. If you are at the edge of death, wouldn't a 1% chance of living be appealing to you? Would you not want to exhaust all your other options before giving up and never seeing your loved one again? Humanity's greatest asset is in their intelligence and their willingness to survive. Many may call it the indomitable human spirit, a force that has propelled us through countless wars and plagues, always seeking the light at the end of the road. Xenotransplantation isn't merely a scientific breakthrough. It is a testament against fate itself. It is a promise of life, a way to rewrite fate, and a show of humanity's unrelenting endurance. However, xenotransplantation cannot thrive without the help of everyone here. If people were to reject this medical marvel, then it is merely a fleeting dream, a sophisticated idea confined merely to the pages of research. Xenotransplantation needs not only acceptance, but also understanding. It must reach a consensus with the people to be able to be actually realized and provide a safer society for us all. So let us see to it that this medical marvel be able to thrive. Let us not be confined by our traditionalistic and stubborn mindset, but to be open-minded and determined. Let's create a better future for the generation to come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. Let's go straight to the Q&A. I don't care which one. Why don't you go first, Felix?
Hi, Dylan.
Hi.
Great job. So I want to commend you, first of all, on the courage that you have to go over like this it's quite controversial topic right now. And like you covered a lot of the aspects of xenotransplantation. So it's really a pleasure to see. So well done on that. Well done on your oration also. So my first point of discussion will be just asking for your thoughts on what you think is considered as a successful xenotransplantation? What would you say is successful?
Excellent question, Mister. I would say that for a successful xenotransplant, it will be the we are like may I have time to think for a while?
Go ahead.
I believe that for a successful xenotransplant to occur, first we must be realistic about it. We are not so advanced in genetic engineering, and so I think our first milestone will be to stop the immune attacks in the first place, which has worked for various different patients. I think the longest is around 140 days, but that is still not considered a successful transplant, as after a few months the organ still fails. So I believe that at the very least, the pig organs must be able to be sustained for a couple of years at least, so that currently it is not a very viable permanent option yet, but it can be a viable temporary options for people who are on the wait list, who are waiting for their own organs. And for example, a kidney will take up to 5 years. I would suggest that for xenotransplantation should at least be able to sustain for around 5 years.
Okay, so right now, do you have any data on how many % of xenotransplantation has reached that 5-year, that 5-year time that you just mentioned? Do you have any data on that?
Oh, thank you for the question, Mr. As I've said before, there's have yet to be any successful transplant that has lasted for more than 4 months. But yeah, I believe that for it to be considered a successful transplant, it should be around 5 years. However, it has yet to happen. It might happen tomorrow.
Okay, so one of the ways that you've been telling us about how we can get the pigs that are suitable for transplantation is we can customize the organs, right, for the certain person that needs it, right? So do you think that happens when the organs are still within the pigs? Are we genetically engineering the pigs, or are we killing the pigs, taking the organs out, and then modifying it? Which one happens first?
Oh, okay. That's a very interesting question. But from what I've read, I believe that what the scientists are doing is that they've been genetically engineering the cells of the pig since it was still an embryo, because it's easier to be gene edited than an adult pig, I would say. And after it has been grown, the organs will have grown the size that is similar to a human, and that can then be dissected and be procured.
Oh, so these genetically modified pigs' organs are already suitable to be transplanted into human bodies then. So
Yeah.
since they're an embryo.
I believe so.
Okay, so let's talk about ethics of this a little bit. So if God designed us with our human organs, with our human bodies, right? And then we decided that we're going to put a pig's organ inside the bodies. Are we denying what God has given us, or what do you think?
That's a very complex question. I would say that when we are putting a pig's organ inside of us, we're not transcending God per se. We are not the pig's organ is just to keep us alive. It is not to enhance or modify us. We're not creating superhumans here. Instead, we're merely putting back the human body back to as it was before, as it was working before. We are not improving on it. We're just, putting them back how God intended.
Okay, so would you say that God intended us to have pig organs?
Not necessarily, but God intended us for us to live, to live as we want to live.
Okay. How about the idea of perseverance in suffering? So if people are suffering because of organ failure, right? Isn't there also a virtue in persevering through that instead of, finding the easy way out and just, okay, let's have these fake organs. It's easier to do. What do you think?
Can I have a few moments to myself?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I believe that, yeah, actually there is virtue in persevering, and that people who are persevering through suffering. So people who are suffering may look to God more rather than people who have already have a nice and comfortable life. However, I believe that we have an all-loving and all-just God. If we were to deserve the suffering, then we would suffer. We will suffer without the chance of xenotransplantation. However, because we have an all-loving God, I do not think that God wants us to suffer forever. I believe that if we were to believe in Him, we would not suffer. That is His promise after all. If we believe in Him, then we will go to heaven, we will not go to hell. And thus, I believe that xenotransplantation is not against the doctrine at all. It is merely, and not only that, if we were to be saved by xenotransplant, there's also the virtue of being thankful to God after we have been saved by this medical marvel.
Okay. So another line of thinking that I'm having here is about the cultural differences that you outlined, right? And how certain groups of people are more open to the idea while others are not. So what do you think are the sources of these differences?
I think the sources of these differences is due to the fact that xenotransplantation is still a relatively new breakthrough, and so these beliefs and religions are rooted in the traditionalistic sense, and that they are not really changing, and those that are changing and improving, they are more accepting. However, these more conservative beliefs, they still believe that animals are dirty, they shouldn't be inside a human. And so, I think it's just they have not moved on yet. The era is changing, but their beliefs has not.
So how would you convince these people with these groups that, this is a medical marvel, like we should go for this? What would you say to a certain culture that thinks that pigs are, they don't belong in human bodies? Yeah, maybe. What did you say?
Firstly, I will have to wait until this transplant is actually successful, that it actually provides a difference. And then, if I could take an example, maybe I can take Islam, for example. It is a culture that favorably sees pigs as a dirty animal. However, I've done some research, and there is an exception in their rule, in that in the case of an emergency or to save a life, it can be the rules, the law that states that pigs are dirty can be what's the name? Ignored. So if it were to save a life, then it is allowable. And you can also say that when one is at the edge of death, if the person is at the edge of death and we provide this alternative, then of course the person will take it. despite their cultural beliefs, if they really want to live.
Okay, we need to move on to Mr. Joel.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Hi, Dylan.
Hi.
You did very well. I appreciate that you memorized the entire speech. That is hard to do, but very good. It's a great start to your rhetoric presentation. So thank you. Very well. I want to ask you a series of questions. We'll just start in. Because I have a neighbor. My neighbor in Bobatu actually went to jail because he was involved in the illegal trade of kidneys, and he sold somebody else's kidney from Garut. So I was just curious, in your in your research, what is the value? What is the dollar amount of one kidney? I'm just curious, how much money are we talking about?
I think I put that in my final thesis rather than my speech.
Okay, what is the dollar amount for a pig kidney? What would be the financial cost right there? Human versus pig.
Yeah, indeed, this is I do not have the specific data right now. I can go and research. However, I would definitely believe if one person say that the human kidney is very much more expensive. I believe that some people even sold their kidneys to like PlayStation 5s and other expensive items. So I would think that a human kidney will cost probably like 10 times, 15 times higher than that of a pig's kidney because pig is so reproducible.
Yeah, I think it's miliaran that we're talking about. Like it's a lot of money, more than just a PS5, right?
Really?
Yeah. It's very profitable. Anyway, I also wanted to emphasize that question. There's a cultural question between why is there such a disparity between the Asian culture with wanting to donate their organs and other cultures that are very willing to do that. You cited Confucianism. I want to ask you about Asian Christians. Do they still have that same hesitancy, or are there Asian Christians that are more open to this idea of donating their organs?
I believe that one of the reasons that Asians are more reluctant is, as I've said before, they're more traditionalistic, while the older cultures they're more, I guess they, what do you call it? They're not more forward. They're more. I mean, of course, not all Asians are close-minded, traditionalistic. Some are open-minded. However, the most of them, their beliefs are still rooted in beliefs that have sprung up thousands of years ago, which it doesn't take into account xenotransplantation. It did not take into account even the possibility of transplantation. So in the case of Christian Asians, I believe they will be more willing, because not only is it a virtuous thing to do, as if they are Christian Asian, then they'll be thinking more forward.
Yeah, more progressive, more
progressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good.
There's a verse that when Jesus says, "Greater love hath no man than this, that he lays down his life for his friends." Right. So someday, when I'm old and my kidneys are failing, would you be willing to give me one of yours?
Me?
So that I could live a little bit longer.
We'll see the circumstance later on.
We'll check. Okay. I'll pay you a couple million. Okay. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I wanted to try to think about what you're setting up is a case for the second best solution. Xenotransplantation is not the first best. By far, allotransplantation is number one. If you have a kidney that is a match, that's the best solution by far. And you're trying to set up and build a case for that the second best is very minimal. At most, to date that you cited is 140 days, and then that organ will be rejected and failed, and we will be back to square one. So I'm almost suggesting that you redo your thesis as a not for a permanent solution, but like clarify that this is a temporary solution, a stopgap to help us with the crisis, a supply chain crisis, right? That's one edit I would say. Also, another comment that I was thinking of is the inefficiencies that you cited, time, matching, all those things. Technology is actually advancing at such a rapid pace that I wonder if we cannot improve upon and minimize those inefficiencies so that we're not wasting 40% of the donated organs. We're not losing a lot of that. But what kind of, let's work on the first best scenario and let's make that as efficient, maximize the best possible. You're building a case for the second best, and it's quite a large gap. So what would you say to that?
Okay. May I have some time to myself first? Okay. My answer to that would be that even if we were to focus on allo transplantation first, we increase their transport, we can increase transport efficiencies, we increase time, we can increase the communication. It is still limited by the organ shortage. Even if we have a 100% efficient, it is still not guaranteed to save everybody. However, xenotransplantation has the possibility, it has the potential to be the actual solution, to be that right now it can't be, but in the future it can be the possible alternative to xenotransplant that could override it altogether. Is it?
Yeah, you're saying kind of an either or. It's an alternative, right? The shortage is so great, the need is so huge that not just one solution is going to solve this, right? We need much solutions, right? So I would say, yes, this would be a stopgap, maximize our best solution with allo transplantation. Also use the CRISPR gene editing to modify the organs that might not qualify as a match right now. Why not modify and put effort into modifying the ones that aren't qualified? Let's qualify them. Let's fix them. Let's heal them so that we have a human organ that now qualifies and can be put back on the wait list. You know, let's have a lot of solutions to solve this crisis. One final solution that is just random from my mind, but how do you feel about euthanasia as an option to harvesting organs? I'm giving my life, my old body, I'm giving it up so that somebody younger will have a chance to live. That sounds very, very Christian and like a godly thing to do.
I mean, yeah, it's a very good idea, mister. A euthanasia to save for organ procurement, and that it is, yeah, it is also viable for people who are actually willing to do it, to give out their lives for other people, and I believe you can even do it right now. I believe, yeah. I don't think it's illegal per se. Yeah, and there's no reason for it to not coexist with xenotransplantation either. And if I were to comment on the last part where you said we're to modify the human organs, I believe that gene editing on adult humans is much more challenging and difficult than gene editing on a pig embryo. So that may be one of the limitations of it.
Our time is up. Good job, Dylan. You completed. Okay, thank you, Dylan. Our time is tight, so Dylan, we'll meet over here for photos with your family and friends, and then we'll be ready for Ethan in only about 5 minutes. Okay.
Mister, do you give it the mic?
I think he did.
Oh, you're next. Okay. Oh.